Okay, so section 5.4 is titled the distributive property. Just like the associative and commutative, the distributive property is one that you're going to use quite a bit of the time. So when we talk about distributing things, we talk about giving them out to everyone. So when teachers want you to distribute the papers, they want you to hand them out to other people. So in math, when we distribute, we're talking about multiplying things that are in parentheses by the number that's outside, or doing the reverse action and pulling something out that's common and putting it in front of the parentheses. So if I have some of these examples here, normally through PEMDAS, we would do our parentheses first. So we would add things together inside the parentheses, and then we would do our multiplication. So for this one, we would get 10 if we were following PEMDAS. The distributive property says you don't necessarily have to follow PEMDAS as long as you distribute out this number in front. So 5 times 9 is negative 45. 5 times 11 is 55. If I add negative 45 and 55 together, I still get that value of 10. So I will put like little marks like that saying I have to make sure that I multiply both the negative 9 and the 11 by that number out in front. So here I would multiply 7 by 10 and get 70. 7 times the negative 5 and get 35. And then my final answer would be 35. If I did PEMDAS, 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 times 7 is 35. And then the same thing here, even though the number is behind the parentheses, it's still right next to the parentheses. So it still needs multiplication. So 9 times 12, anyone know what 9 times 12 is? How about 108? 108 minus 72, and 108 minus 72 is 36. If I were to take 12 minus 8, I would get 4. 4 times 9 is the 36. So each time, whether we do PEMDAS or we just do the distributive property and then add or subtract, we're getting the same value. So when might you use this? So say you're in a store and you want to buy 20 pairs of socks, and each pair of socks is $4.95, and you want to know how much it's going to cost you. In your head, you're probably rounding up to $5 and saying $4.95 is close to $5. 5 times 100, or 5 times 20 is 100. And you say, it's going to be around $100. Well, yeah, it's going to be around $100, but it's going to be exactly $99 because that 5 cents that you're away from the $5, the 5 cents times 20 is going to be $1. So 100 minus 1 is 99. So it's used when you're trying to estimate things, or when you're just mathematics people and you have variables, because you can't add an A and a 4 together because that's not allowed in math. Can't add apples and whole numbers. They don't become whole apples. They stay apples and whole numbers. Same thing with the Y's. M and M's can't, M and N's cannot be added together. So in order to simplify these down or remove the parentheses, we have to use the distributive property over each one. So 6A plus 24. So we're just taking and multiplying that out. Din, you have to stay awake during the whole lesson, otherwise you're just going to be lost. Put the negative 3 out in front of the y, multiply it, it becomes negative 3y. Negative 3 times the negative 10 becomes a positive 30, because the negative out here and this negative make a positive. Here, the numbers behind it, doesn't matter, it still gets distributed. 8 times M is 8M. 8 times 3N is 24N. Any questions so far? So distributive, whenever you see a number in front of a parentheses or behind a parentheses, you multiply it out. A sports club rents dirt bikes for $37.50 each. Find the total cost for the club to rent 20 bikes. Justify your answer by using the distributive property. This would be very similar to the one that I just showed you earlier with the money, or with the buying the socks. We have 20 times $37.50. Well, we can round that to 40 and take away $2.50 of the 20. Or we could say it's 35 plus 250. Whichever you prefer to do, it doesn't matter, but you're going to break up that $37.50 into two different quantities, whichever way you want to go. I'm going to go this way because 2 times 4 is 8. So 40 times 20 is 800 minus, and then we have 20 times 250. 20 times 250. 250 is kind of similar to a quarter, right? It's got the 2 and the 5 in there. How many quarters are there in $20? Yeah, Hayden? 80. So this is going to be 800 minus 80. 20 times 250 is going to be $80. So we're going to get a total of 720. Over here, we would get 700 here. And is that right? 700? Did I do that multiplication right? Because it doesn't seem right. I think this should be 50, not 80.
It's right. Or which one are you talking about?
The 250 times 20.
Yeah, it's 50.
Okay. I had 80 originally. So it wasn't making sense because this came out to be the same. So we want them to be the same. It's early, I can't multiply, so. All right. Distributive property. That's all there is to it. Questions?
I don't have any.
Other than, okay, so for you guys that came on a little bit later, I did grade section 6.1 and 6.2. Check your grades, see what kind of comments I have for you. There's one that I wanted to go over because almost everybody got it wrong. And I want to make sure that you realize what's happening. Let me